I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded. Seeing no one else recording the meeting, if you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have some special recognitions this evening. Dr. Brunel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first one that just came to light this weekend, I'd like to have a moment of silence in honor of Betsy Carpenter. Ms. Carpenter served as a 20-year member of the Auburn Public Schools team, serving as an administrative assistant at Auburn High. She passed away just this Sunday. Betty leaves behind her 8 sons and their wives, along with a sister, brother, in-laws, and many grandchildren and great-grandchildren, nieces, and nephews. So if we can have a brief moment of silence in remembrance of Betty and in support of her family at this difficult time. Thank you. Other recognitions that we have this evening, actually a number of students being recognized, so really some incredible accomplishments and achievements. So the first one is the Swanson Road students earning a congressional commendation. So as noted in here, under the direction of Ms. Sarah Cannell, they participated in the Congressional App Challenge. They were actually recognized as the youngest group of students that entered into this, and Congressman McGovern was sure to point that out to them with a commendation. So the students are Jada Booker, Julia Brutowski, Nathan Goronsky, Michaela Gillette, Dominic Potenti, Olivia Salem, Jevin Tarr, and Jenna Whitsett. They actually, this is work that they've been doing in revitalizing the James Corville Arboretum that's located on the Vine Street side of the Swanson Road property. The students actually created 3 apps: Beat the Beatles, Tree Trace, and Arboretum Leaf Trace. They can be found on Google Play under the, if you search for Swiss App Inventor. So I encourage people to do that, but it really is a great recognition of the kids really going above and beyond, and I thank Ms. Cannell for her leadership in that. The next recognition, and we've brought forward to you numerous ones this year and over the past recent years. Mrs. Bastian, the art teacher at the high school, informed us that several students were selected to exhibit at UMass Dartmouth's Emerging Young Artists Invitational Exhibition. Those included Olivia Obreski, Dakota Gleason, Meg Beauregard, and Genevieve Rumrell. Also, Dakota and Meg, they had their posters featured at the advertising the exhibition, which was nice. Included in your packet are miniature renditions, I would say, of the work that these children are engaged in. And I'm sure that you, like me, are so impressed at the talent that these students show. Whether it's through the gold key painting or drawing, Sen Miglin won for poetry on diary entry from the future, God's or whatever message to me. Olivia and Dakota also for painting and mixed media and art portfolio really show not only the talent of our students, but I would say also the talent and hard work of our teachers. All through the grades, it really capitalizes, or really is accentuated when they get to the high school. Next, I want to share that the We the People team, I had the opportunity to go down a few Saturdays ago to the Edward M. Kennedy Institute. While they placed 3rd, I can tell you the students did just an amazing job. As each cohort of students stands, they share the college that they're planning to attend. They do welcomes. It's very, very formal, the whole event. And then they are asked one question, and they prepared for those, and they do a great presentation with some just reasoned arguments, bringing in contemporary issues, historical issues. And then once that part is done that they've prepared for, the judges sit and ask them any questions that they want. And our students really held up especially well, and some of the judges said afterwards, you know, they were very poised and professional in their responses and very thorough, really showed a lot of good thinking. Those students that participated there were many of them who also participated in the Model United Nations program. And that one took place just a couple of weekends ago down at Boston University. I was not able to attend that one, but I did go when they were at Clark back in the fall. And they are dealing with issues, worldwide issues of concern, and they prepare their arguments for them. It really is. It's a replication of a model of a United Nations event. So, as I said to the students in congratulatory letters to them, it really speaks highly for our future, not only in the United States but in the world with the kids and the caring, not only for Model UN and We the People, but all of our students really go above and beyond. So, just wanted to
They
point
do.
those things out to you.
That's excellent. We've got some great things happening. Usually, what we're celebrating is our sports teams, and that's awesome. Tonight we're not, and that's also awesome because for our students to be taking an interest in politics, technology, the environment, the arts. It's great that it's not just about sports at Auburn schools, and we're very proud of all the students.
Great.
Thank you for that report. Seeing no citizens' comments or no student representatives, let's seek approval of the minutes of January 23rd and February 8th, 2017.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 23rd and February 8th.
Yep.
8th.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's a vote. We now move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Auburn Middle School was recently notified, their grade 8 students and team under the direction of Mrs. Christine Robbins and Mrs. Carrie Palumbo, that they've been awarded a Massachusetts Clean Energy Center grant. It's an $8,000 grant. They're actually having an event that will take place on March 27th, starting at 8 in the morning. All of you are invited to attend that. It's going to feature hands-on science, technology, engineering, and even I believe there's going to be some solar cooking of hot dogs that day, among many other clean energy
We'll be there.
events taking place. They are an economic development agency, the Mass CEC. We do expect a number of dignitaries, including our legislative representatives, Environmental Affairs Secretary Matthew Beaton, and others that will be there. So they've sent out invitations. The kids are really excited for this day, as are the teachers. So we will report back after the event takes place.
That's great.
The next item, recently at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, we were presented with a check in the amount of $969.17. And this is from the proceeds of the 50/50 raffles that they hold at their breakfast events. The Auburn Chamber, as I reported to you before, is just so generous and supportive, as are a number of other community organizations throughout Auburn. So this amount will be split between the 5 schools, and it's my recommendation that you accept this.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to accept the generous donation of $969.17 from the Auburn Chamber of Commerce.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And there's a vote.
And I don't know if it's in your packet, but we have sent a letter of thanks to them, so be sure that they're aware of that. The next item, in terms of Governor Baker's Chapter 70 amount, which is the education funding, he has released his recommendation, and it shows, as I reported to you previously, an increase in Auburn's allocation of $1,042,725, which
Good.
really is just about $30 shy of the increase that we'll actually see in our budget that you recently approved in terms of that had to be expanded due to out-of-district placements that were unanticipated. So certainly good news on that
Yeah.
front.
Excellent.
The next item is the school calendar for next school year, 17-18. And it's very much in keeping with the calendars that we've had over the past 2 years. It does contain an abbreviated February vacation, but a couple of additions noted in here is several additional half-days. And these are for to really provide the time for teachers to work together, whether it's in curriculum planning, reviewing data. And we've set aside for November 7th to actually use that as a parent-teacher conference day. So students would be in school for the morning And then in the afternoon and again that night, parents could sign up for parent-teacher conferences. How it's happened in Auburn for the past many, many years is teachers were pulled from their class for a full day, bringing in a substitute. And I think too that with parents' work schedule, I think an afternoon and evening parent-teacher conference will work quite well. So it is my recommendation that you approve the calendar. The leadership team has reviewed and vetted this. This would actually have students' last day being June 11th, barring no snow days, which is an unlikely occurrence, and teachers' last day being June 12th. But I think the time is better spent during the school year, and I think that we've found that we had great attendance today. I really appreciate parents' support and students. Mrs. Ottner pulled that for me, and with the abbreviated February break, we actually had great attendance across the district, which was good to see.
Great. I would entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Question, the dates with the slashes, those are the half
Yeah,
days?
Those are.
Okay.
And they were intentionally done on Tuesdays because Tuesdays are our staff meeting day, so it provides for actually a longer block of time for teachers to be working together.
Ah, because they'd be staying later in the afternoon.
Correct.
Okay.
Through the chair, I thank you, through the chair, I just had one question about the parent-teacher conference day, specifically having to do with childcare.
Mm-hmm.
Will any sort of childcare, or will the gyms be open or something in the event that a parent can't find extra care?
So we've not yet worked that out. We do have the after-school satellite and Galaxy programs that take place anyway on those days. In terms of evening parent conferences, we're envisioning probably a 6 to 8 or sometime in there. I know in the past, like for PTO events, sometimes we have National Honor Society students come down, so we can certainly look into that and see if something like that could work.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Just want to be able to accommodate everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is a vote.
Great. The next item is the second quarter quarterly report. This is in fulfillment of collaborative regulations for Southern Worcester County Educational Collaborative. I'm pleased to report that things continue to go very positively and smoothly at the collaborative, and I thank Beth Fitzmaurice for her guidance, as well as Mr. John Love, the business manager. So it is my recommendation that you accept that report as written.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the quarterly report as prepared by Ms. Beth Fitzmaurice, Executive Director of the SWCE Collaborative for the period of October to December 2016.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is a vote.
And next, we included in your packet the letters sent home regarding water testing that's taking place, and these went home to the families at each of those specific schools. As you'll recall, last year we had shared with you that this was an opportunity that came out of the governor's office. There had been a couple $1 million, I think, designated for this. So any issues that have arisen, we have addressed them with remediation plans, but I wanted you to see copies of the letters that have gone to families. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments regarding these letters?
I have a question.
Gail?
I just quickly glancing at the letters, they each name an area where there was a problem. Have those areas been fixed or just closed off and not used anymore?
So it varies based on the remediation plan. For example, some of them, one was at the Packagug School, and it was a sink that wasn't used by students at all. But just in an abundance of caution, they actually removed and capped that off. In another area that wasn't used by students, but is not used for drinking by students, but it is needed, so they posted a sign, and every morning it's run for 5 minutes, which is what DEP expects or recommends, and then someone initials it to be sure that that happens. Bubblers, where we've had any issues with bubblers, those have been shut off if needed, or there's a sign posted. But we're actually going to be replacing all of the bubblers. We've installed them at the high school, the new middle school has them, and Swanton Road has at least one in the main foyer area. Because most students bring a water bottle to school, And this actually saves on that and allows you to fill it, and it tracks how many water bottles that are actually saved and don't go to landfills or to recycling centers. So those are in the process of being filled. Some of them just require school, depending on, one I know is going to be a little bit more in-depth. It's going to need to break through the wall and stuff, so that'll be planned for a vacation period. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions?
Through the chair, I'm just happy to hear that we're getting the fancy bubblers everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Okay, we now move on to unfinished business.
The special town meeting has been set for March 28th, as you know, and I included in your packet a draft memo. We've been in the habit of sharing an explanation to town meeting members to try and have them have a full understanding before we ask them to vote. So this was something that I had drafted, noting to them that with the first 3 accelerated repair projects, the roof replacement at Swanson and Bryn Mawr and the boiler at Swanson, that saved the taxpayers of Auburn slightly more than $1.2 million. So depending on the ultimate bid prices for the PAC roof, and we are thinking it's probably going to be between $700,000 and $900,000, somewhere in there, it could save the taxpayers of Auburn between $375,000 and $485,000. And again, this will not require any new borrowing. We have already reallocated with town meeting approval ample funding to pay Auburn's portion. So I share this with you, and then the wording on the back, the actual article in motion. These are taken directly from MSBA, and as we've noted there with an asterisk, because we're anticipating bids to be received prior to March 28th, town meeting members will actually vote on the actual amount that we'll be borrowing.
Great.
But it is my recommendation that you approve this as written, and we will get it sent out to town meeting members, or with modification.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to approve the memo to town meeting members regarding the need for their attendance at the special town meeting and approval of the school committee's article.
Is there a second? Any discussion? I'd just like to say, I think the town appreciates the foresight involved as far as handling some of these issues before they get too bad, whether it's the roofs, the boilers, windows, a lot of the projects that we've taken on lately. That being said, we completely appreciate the town supporting us. Every time we go to a town meeting, they support the warrant, and it's usually unanimous. It's we have some fantastic support from our residents in
You do.
Auburn. That's much appreciated. So as much as we like to keep them in the loop, they like to keep the support coming, and thank you for that.
One other item under this here is typically we have a meeting prior to the special town meeting. It is my recommendation that we do one again to address any issues and then adjourn following the special town meeting.
Sounds good. Do we need a separate vote for that?
I think it would make sense, and then we'll, typically, I think the special town meetings start at 7 o'clock, and we usually do our meeting at 6:30, just to have it ready.
Okay, all in favor of the first motion?
Aye.
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 It is a vote. Okay, now I'd entertain a motion to have a meeting at 6:30.
I'll make that
for town
motion.
meeting. Do I have a
That-
second?
We meet at 6:30 before the town meeting on March 28th.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
Great, thank you. In terms of the PAC Accelerated Repair update, they did vote. The MSBA Board of Directors recently voted just a week or so ago, and our project is officially moving forward. So as we are gathering the final documents to go out to bid, that should happen soon, and we should have bid prices, as I indicated, prior to town meeting, which will be great.
Great.
As shared with you previously, Dr. Lozay and I met with Town Manager Jacobson and CFO Kazanovich, and we've got the governor's numbers, which are $1 million increase. You voted a budget that's about $1,072,000 increase there. But as you know, there is much more to go in terms of this budgeting process. So I just outlined it here for you. So in April, the House will debate and approve its FY18 budget. In May, the Senate will do the same. In June, a joint House and Senate Conference Committee reconciles any differences that there may be. And the intention is to bring forward a budget that would require the governor's signature, hopefully by July 1st, the beginning date. I will share with you that Senator Moore's office has outreached us, and he is intending to come to the meeting next week to give an update in terms of budget as well.
Great.
In terms of the youth opioid grant, we did receive a letter of support from Senator Moore for this. We did receive word from the Attorney General's office that they had received, I think, 120 grant applications, so it's taking them a bit longer than they first thought to go through those, and we'll certainly keep you apprised, and hopefully we will be successful in receiving funding for that.
Any comments? Seeing none, move on to new business.
So I've included in the packet a mid-year goal update regarding each of the goals noted, the student learning goals, the professional practice goals, and the district improvement goals. And as I noted in here, none of these things or activities are ones that I undertake alone. I spearhead some, I participate in some, but it really is a team effort, including Dr. Lozay and all members of the leadership team. So I thank them for their work. It really is a team effort, any successes that we have. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any comments or questions regarding Dr. Brunel's goals?
Okay?
Seeing none,
In terms of Student Government Day, that takes place in April of each school year, and Mr. Canfield notified me that Andrea Bolduc and Liz Anasaskis will be the representatives for that. So they'll come to a meeting following their participation and fill you in on how that goes. And then finally, upcoming events, some of them have passed as we had to postpone the meeting, but of note, a particular note, is the National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony that will take place tomorrow night at Auburn Middle School, and I congratulate in advance. I will be there, as will Dr. Lozay. Not only the students, but also the parents and families. It's really a proud moment for all of them, and I look forward to it very much.
okay. We now move on to the teaching and learning report.
Okay, so as you all know, we've been reporting on our early college initiative. And we shared with you back in the fall the success of the summer program that Mr. Bouvier had run with all of those students except for one completing it. But we're now thrilled to share that at the Auburn High School we will have 2 additional college courses through Quinsigamond. They will run after school from 2:30 to 5. They will be 3 credits, which means students have to complete 45 hours. Some of those hours will be online to try to get our students used to that format as well. The 2 courses will be Introduction to Microcomputers, which Mr. Chris LaJoy from the Technology Department will be teaching. He has 10 students currently enrolled in that program. And then we'll also be offering English 101, which is a basic core requirement at most colleges. Dr. Cynthia Bazinet, our English department head, will be teaching that, and she currently has 13 students. Some really good news about it all is that Quinsig had applied for a grant called the Commonwealth Dual Enrollment Partnership Grant, which means that for our English 101 course, Quinsig will actually offer free tuition to our students, free fees, and $150 towards their books for up to 18 students to enroll in that class. So that's a great
Awesome.
savings and awesome opportunity. The other course will cost the students $100, but that is still a significant savings for a 3-credit college course. And overall, over the course of offering these, we've had about 35 students take these courses, with about 5 of them taking multiple courses. So it's been a hit, and a lot of the surveys and the discussions at the high school say that students want more. So we're going to continue to expand, and we'll let you know where we go from here.
Great.
How have they done on the courses, Dr. Lozay?
They've been very successful in the courses. Over the summer, I believe there was only 1 student who didn't complete the course, so.
Well, that's
Great.
a tough time to do it in the summer.
It is.
Now, do
Yeah.
we have, is there one specific person who supports them as far as the online courses go? Someone at Auburn High School with experience in the online course
So,
format?
in terms of that, these teachers who are our teachers are now considered adjunct professors through Quincy. We've had a lot of training, but we also have people at the high school that can assist with that if needed, who have been trained in virtual high school. So
Excellent. Sounds like a great program. Thank you.
We're excited about it. Also, a few meetings back, you know, I updated you on the Chinese exchange program that we're really excited about and that the government has put a slight hold on. But we are excited that we were able to bring one student from China over through Dr. Crystal Jiang, who we've been partnering with and who has a son, I believe, at Swanson Road, and who's very excited to get this exchange program going. This student came and stayed at the high school for about 7 days. We had a family in Auburn who hosted him. And Misty Hanfield has reported that he had a great time and that the students who interacted with him also had a very positive experience. So we're hoping to expand it as soon as the government lets more students come.
Great.
In terms of our Great East Festival, we have a little change here. In the past, we would have all of our band students in grades 6 to 8 attend the Great East Festival, which is usually held out in West Springfield at a middle school. But over time, the entry fee for that has risen. And so the band teachers, along with Colin Myers, who is the Director of Fine Arts, decided to create their own program here at Auburn Middle School for all 250 of our band students. So what this will mean is that they will spend the morning doing the same sort of things that they would do at the Great East Festival. However, instead of costing $85 per student, it will cost $50 per student. So there is a savings there of about $35. But even probably more importantly than that is the amount of time that they will get to spend with a judge. We're told that in the past at the Great East Festival, 7 minutes was afforded the students in terms of critiquing and coaching. The program that they've designed will allow for 30 minutes of judging, but also an additional 30-minute workshop conducted by Ms. Ginny Bailey from the high school and Mr. Lapete, which that's where the students are headed, so that's a great benefit. One of the other benefits is that the audience will be their peer group, other students who never get to see them actually perform. So we're really excited about it, and who knows, once they start inviting other districts, it might become the Great Auburn Festival.
Sounds good.
And as Dr. Brunel mentioned, we have the Middle School National Honor Society, Junior Honor Society induction tomorrow night. This is their second year of this program. It's overseen by Mrs. Melissa Dupuy, who's a science teacher there, and Mrs. Sherry Watson, who's the guidance counselor. They're going to be inducting 35 students this year. 27 of them are 7th graders, with 8 being in 8th grade. So they'll now have a total membership of 72 students, which is great that it's grown that large in 2 years. And as Dr. Brunel said, it's a great night, and everybody's proud, the students, the families, and the district as well. So
Absolutely. Wonderful program. Comments?
And what time was that? Sorry, through the chair. What time does that start?
6:30.
6:30, yeah.
Thank you.
And last but not least, I wanted to share with you some updates around advanced placement and the testing fees associated with that. Back in 1999, the U.S. Department of Education initiated an AP test fee program, which allowed states to ask for federal funds to subsidize AP test exam fees for our economically disadvantaged students. When that program first started, there were approximately 1,100 economically disadvantaged students who would take the AP test. Currently, as of 2016, there was approximately 20,000. So that program had a great impact. Last year in Auburn, 45 students were able to take advantage of that, and they paid $15 for their exam as opposed to the usual $92, significant savings. And some of those students take multiple exams because they take more than one AP course. But sadly, we were recently notified that that particular program has ended, but hopefully there will be a block grant funding program that comes under the Every Student Succeed Act, which is the act that replaced the No Child Left Behind Act. And according to that block funding, you can use those funds for 3 reasons. One is to provide a well-rounded education to all students. Another is to make sure that you provide a safe and healthy learning environment for all students, and one for the effective use of technology. We would argue that providing a reduced fee for AP testing is in line with a well-rounded education for all of our students. So they're telling us we will have great discretion in terms of using those funds, but they're not going to give us more information until the spring. So once that comes in, we'll be able to share more with you. But as a district, we're committed to ensure that through our whatever means possible, we continue to offer a reduced fee for our students that need that.
That sounds great.
Through the
Dorothy?
chair, have we actually been awarded the grant yet, or are we still waiting to see?
It's really an entitlement grant, and it hasn't come to our district yet to tell us what we've been allocated. It will be based on the same funding formula as Title I, around how many disadvantaged students we have within the district.
Thank you. So through the chair, to clarify, do you feel that that is enough, or would we also need to supplement? Or I guess we don't really know until, but I'm more curious, I guess I'm coming from the position of seeking additional funding from somewhere from one of our revolving accounts. If we need that, do we have that available?
So through the chair, we have a number of gift accounts. You know, as Dr. Lozay said, we are very much committed as a district to making sure that any opportunity that students had previously, that they are in no way negatively impacted by this. So it's really just kind of rolling out. It came as a bit of a surprise to us when this first came in the newspaper. So Dr. Lozay participated in a recent webinar that's sharing more information. We did reach out to Senator Moore's office. He had indicated that he, is likewise concerned about the funding and shared with us some of those alternate sources. I think that it's fair to say that they're scrambling a bit to get this information out because it's a concern for districts. But we are committed to making sure that that money is available. And if we need to, we can come back to you. But we do have some gift account monies if the grant does not sufficiently address it.
Okay, thank you.
That was some great input, Dot. I was thinking the same thing. Just keep us posted in whatever we have to do in years to come. If we need to put in a line item somewhere in the budget, that's something that we'll do. I can't imagine that it's a huge number of underprivileged students who are taking the AP courses, but whatever the number is, as Dot said, it's important that we look to seek that funding somewhere, and even if it has to be a line item in the budget in the future. But we won't know until you report back to us, and we appreciate that.
Thanks for keeping on top of it.
And thank you for that report. We now move on to everyone's favorite part of the evening, business and financial.
Good evening,
Sally.
everyone. I have provided a year-to-date budget report in your packet, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Seeing none.
Also enclosed in your packet is a list of budget transfers. There are several between the same series, just for your information purposes, and there's a few transfers between different series requiring your vote for approval. So I'd be looking for an approval of that.
I would entertain a motion to approve the transfers between the series as recommended by the business manager.
I will make that motion to approve the transfers between the series as recommended by our business manager.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Okay, moving on to the FY18 bus registration. We're off to a slow start. Currently, we've only received 126 registrations, which is about a little over 7% from last year's numbers that we had for ridership. So I'm hoping that in the next few weeks, as we go into March, roll into March, that we'll have more families participating. A lot of those that have registered already, I was happy to see that their families who didn't need to pay, either because of the distance or if they're free and reduced, they didn't have to pay and they did sign up. Because in the past, that's been an issue that families didn't realize that they had to sign up even though they weren't paying. So we're trying to make sure that they're aware of that. And also with the new rule too, as far as making sure they come here to central office as opposed to the schools, so there's no confusion on anybody's part as far as whether the registration takes place. But hopefully everyone will register before the May 1st deadline, because everybody, no matter what, whether they're paying or not, will have to pay the $100 late fee if they're not received, their registration isn't received. We do, and I've mentioned it a couple times, and I believe Dr. Brunel has mentioned it too. We're trying to encourage people to use the online payment system. We've actually taken the application, the registration, the bus registration, and put it on our homepage. it's available there, and on there's a link to the Unipay Gold system, and it's very relatively easy to use. You just, click on the link, then it brings you right to the bus. There's a page that lists, we currently have the preschool and the preschool and the iPads, and now we've added the busing, and we're looking to add others, but the busing pops up and you're able to put in your information. But we've also set up a kiosk through Mr. Bouvier. He was helpful in doing that, so that people, if they have any issues at home with their computer or whatever and they can't get online, they can come in here and register online through the kiosk and make the payment that way. Sharon O'Connell, Miss O'Connell, who's in the central office, has been very helpful, and she's available to answer any questions. So I'm hoping that if there are any questions or concerns that people will reach out. But I really would like to take this time to encourage people to apply. Registration is really critical. It's important for us to know the numbers ahead of time so that we can get our buses in order and make sure that the ridership is appropriate for each bus. So, but I'll keep you updated on that as we go along. But I was a little disappointed, with the slow start, but hopefully it'll increase.
Through the chair, if I might.
Gil?
Just in my own home, January and February, it seems like the bills just keep coming in and coming in. And taxes and sewage fees and water fees, and so maybe it's kind of like
Right.
trying to get through all of that first.
Right. I'm hoping March will be more productive.
Yeah.
So the deadline is May 1st for the application. Is that we said May 1st?
It's, yes, we moved it up to April. No, we did May 1st. I'm sorry, I was
May
thinking
1st.
April, May 1st. I
May 1st,
apologize.
And
Sorry.
And we continue to send
Yes.
notices home via email and hard copies to
copy.
students?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So May 1st is the deadline. You've been forewarned, and we're going to continue to warn you. And we much appreciate you getting those applications in so that we can get the buses rolling out
Right.
on time next year.
And feel free to reach out to us too. I mean, if Ms. O'Connell, like I said, is very helpful, and I'd be more than happy to talk to someone regarding it as well. So if you need any assistance in that realm, so.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne?
Well, it's obviously not the lack of support of the school department on getting all this information out and the deadlines and everything, and keep bringing it up and bringing it up.
Right.
You can only do what you can do, but, I mean, you gotta remember too, there is a fine involved. And I know I don't like that word fine. And, but, I mean, you're doing a great job trying to get it to work, so
Well, thank you.
keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, following up on Dr. Lizay's report on the Chinese exchange program, trying to get ready for that, I've also enclosed a memo outlining a request to establish a new revolving account to be named student exchange fees for depositing funds received from any foreign exchange students who participate in educational programming in Auburn. And with your approval, I'll work with the CFO, Kasanovitz, to establish this fund.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the establishment of the new revolving account as requested by the business manager.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's vote.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask for your support on an adjustment or an update I would like to make on the student activities policy that was recently updated. But I'd like to, it's policy JJF. If you know, in your packet, you received a copy of the policy and the changes are in red. I wanted to give an opportunity to the graduating classes to have the option of donating any leftover funds in their account after graduation to be used to support Auburn students with financial challenges. This is something that the leadership team has begun discussing and trying to work to support our students in Auburn who do have financial barriers and trying to alleviate some of those barriers. And we felt that that would be a good use of those funds from a graduating class, that they could donate those to that type of fund. So I
Definitely.
appreciate your support for that as well.
Through the chair, is it common that a class will graduate and the money just sits there and no one ever claims it?
It has
or-
in the past.
Has it? Wow.
Yeah.
We're working on cleaning all of our accounts so that we only have the current classes in place. And the policy itself says after 6 months, that they need to have either take the money out and open their own account, or that they can either, they can donate it to this account, or if there was something else, a gift or giving to the scholarship account, that they could do as well. But we wanted to kind of open it up to give them an opportunity to give back to Auburn and to help our students in need, so.
Definitely.
Good
I think
idea.
it's
That
great.
sounds great. We were just talking about a situation where
Right.
we may be able to
Right.
use that, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that the leadership team has been working on, so we'll continue to keep you posted on that, so.
Excellent idea. I'd entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated student activity procedures as presented by Liz and Felicia.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No, I'd just like to say thank you, and you're thinking about the students in need, and,
It's a
that's what
group
we're
of-
about. We're about all the
Thank you.
students in our schools, and
Right,
it just goes to show that you're working towards that way, and I want to thank you.
thank you.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is a vote.
Okay, and then finally, I'd like to bring your attention to the memo I included in your packet with regard to the establishment of a special education reserve fund. This is something that Dr. Burnell mentioned briefly at your last meeting, and has briefly touched on it with Town Manager Jacobson and CFO Kasanovich in a recent meeting. On August 9th, 2016, the Baker administration signed into law the Municipal Modernization Bill, which took effect on November 7th, 2016. It brought with it a lot of changes, and as part of the bill, Chapter 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws was amended by inserting Section 13E, which allows the school district to accept this section with a majority vote of the school committee, and in Auburn's case, the Board of Selectmen, which would be the legislative board, to establish and appropriate or transfer money to a reserve fund to be utilized in the upcoming fiscal years to pay without further appropriation for unanticipated or unbudgeted costs of special education, out-of-district tuition, or transportation. The balance in such a reserve fund shall not exceed 2% of the annual net school spending of the school district, and funds shall only be distributed from the reserve fund after a majority of the vote of the school committee and a majority vote of the Board of Selectmen. Now, several years ago, before I was here as business manager, the town and the school department chose very wisely, and I'd really like to applaud them for that, because very forward-thinking on their behalf. They set aside $100,000 to be used for unanticipated special education tuitions, transportation, or related costs. We as a district have been very fortunate that we've not had to use that money. And then so it was in place from year to year should the need arise. However, in fiscal year 18, due to some unanticipated needs, we'll need to utilize these funds, so they will no longer be available to us. So this option for a reserve fund is something we'd really like to continue to explore. We'd like to continue to discuss with the town manager Jacobson and CFO Kasanovitz. We're looking for some guidance from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. They're set to release some guidance on establishing the reserve fund in the next week or so. So we're keeping on track and checking for those notifications. I feel it has a potential to be a very positive solution for both the town and the school district, as we are always uncertain of the special education costs, which usually come up and it adds substantially to our budget, which we've just seen in the recent weeks. So tonight I just wanted to bring this to your attention, and I'll like to bring it back at a future meeting for further discussion and to keep you abreast of the situation.
Sounds great. Any comments, questions?
Do you need a motion, or do you want to wait a while down the road?
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I think we'll wait. I think we'd like to do some more discussion. We'll keep you posted. When we bring it back, we'll probably be looking for some discussion and maybe support on your part, but we'd like to further discuss, the issue with Town Manager Jacobson and CFO Kasanovitz, as well as look at what DESE has to say about what the guidance is on that. But I just think it would be very beneficial, and I know that Dr. Burnell had brought it to your attention previously, so I just wanted to bring it forward.
Seems to make sense.
Thank you.
It's good timing on our
Yeah.
on our end too, with things that have been happening. So
No, that sounds great. Thank you very much
thank
for
you
that.
very much.
And thank you for that report. We now move on to policies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first one that I'm going to recommend for your approval is the one titled Procedure for the Administration of Medication. This is one in here that actually you have approved, with your approval tonight will be the third time. It's actually been approved by you 2 other times already, first in 2014 and then in 2016. It's good for 2 years. And this really talks about what medication orders can be given by parents, so that we in schools, not only the nurse, but others who are trained, can provide them. You had most recently approved, and this was with the doctor's order, that some over-the-counter medications with parental approval could be administered to children during the day, such as Benadryl, Tylenol, Motrin, and the others that are listed in there. So it's my recommendation, the only change to this policy is to say that the current registration is valid to June 30th. The physician has signed off, so it is my recommendation that you approve that policy first.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to approve the updated procedure for the administration of medications.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye, it is a vote.
So with that one now in hand, I've made changes to the field trip policy, and these have been done with input from our school nurses as well as from the principals and other members of the leadership team. And really what it does is it puts into writing the practice that we are currently using. So to go through them, it does now require, as part of the procedure and policy, that whoever is coordinating the trip would meet with the school nurse to review student needs. That always happened, but it wasn't in the policy, so we're adding that. So through grade 8, a school nurse would be required to attend a trip if there's any student with a medical condition that requires it. If, though, the trip is within Auburn, and sometimes that happens, we recently had a group of students, I don't know whether any of them had any medical conditions, but we had a group of students from the high school with Mr. Berg go up to Swanson Road and did science lessons with the kids. So in that regard, I don't think a nurse is required. They're leaving a building where a nurse is, and they go into a building where a nurse is. But then, if in the nurse's judgment it's not needed, we do have some students, and we have over the years had some students who required a nurse to be with the child all day. And in that case, obviously, the nurse's judgment would say, yes, the nurse should attend to that student's needs. In grades 9 through 12, though, the school nurse, and it really comes down to their judgment, they would have to review with the building administrator that if the children are able to successfully self-administer, which many high school students do, they would not necessarily require a school nurse to be on the trip, but it would, if you look at the field trip form the parents would sign off on, these here, parents would be required to sign off if they give permission for either the nurse or another individual trained to actually administer it, whether to carry, say, perhaps an EpiPen or an inhaler, or even medication to address any diabetic concerns. That is exactly in keeping with the medication administration policy that's been in place for a number of years. You'll see that for the other two types of field trips, whether it is out-of-state field trips or even overnight field trips, it is the same there. We don't have, so through grade 8, our students at grade 8 do go on the Washington DC trip, and a nurse or nurses do attend that trip with them. But at grades 9 through 12, again, it would be the nurse's judgment, working with the building administrator. If a child needs it, we would send a nurse, but if he or she is successful in independently self-administering, a nurse may not be required. So that really is the change that took place there. On the field trip procedure form, we did note in there the nurse was already part of it, but just changed the order a bit on that. And then the school nurse needs to sign off on the field trip request form that she, they're all females currently, has worked with the person providing or coordinating the trip to be sure that all medications have been accounted for, and that means that the nurse would be determining if a nurse needs to go. The school nurse would determine. But again, through grade 8, a nurse would always be going on the trip.
Excellent. Wayne?
We had a couple issues a little while back, and I think one was Mrs. LeBlanc was one of them. And if a school nurse reviews the students and the parent doesn't agree with it, do they go to the principal or would they go to the superintendent?
So through the chair, following the chain of command, if it's a building-based issue,
So it'd be,
there's a concern, the first step would be to speak with the school nurse, and if there's a disagreement, to go to the principal.
principal.
And if that can't be resolved, then it can certainly come to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was
Yeah.
along the lines of my question, because I was thinking, what if there's a high school student that has unique needs, and the parent wouldn't be comfortable with the nurse not going? Does the parent have any say, or
Sure, in those cases, when we met with the school nurses, and one of them happened to be one of the high school nurses, and when there was a trip that she said, she will confer with the parent to review the needs, and they know the students so well, particularly those that require daily
Right.
medications. So they're in communication with parents around that, so they would certainly take that into consideration. And, as they said, it really, it comes down to their judgment. And I think we would see them, if they were to err, it would be on the side of caution to do that. So they do confer with them.
okay, because I don't want some parent saying, well, then my student's not going to go on the trip because they're not going to have the medical coverage that
Absolutely.
the parents are worried about.
So through the chair as well, and we discussed this most recently just last week with the principals, and we now have a listing of all of the field trips upcoming through the end of the school year. So that gives ample time for nursing coverage to be lined up to go on the trip. And if a child required nursing coverage and we could not provide it, that's a child's civil rights and we would not go on the trip. So we're
Okay.
committed to doing that.
All right, sounds good then.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Well, I just know that we've had issues about this a few times last year, and hopefully this will address everything. It's just, and nothing against the school nurses, but even when they review it, have you heard of some of the cases, and I'm not gonna get into it, because it's not my preview, but it was addressed to me and I sent it to where it belonged. But things do have happened that where, it didn't work out the right way. So hopefully this will address that issue from now on, and any parents that have been out there have this problem, please make sure you talk to the principal or the superintendent, and if you even have to go down to the chairman of the school committee, do so. These are your kids and you gotta keep protecting them, and that's what we're trying to do too, but it's all gotta be working together as a team. Thank you.
I would say in any school endeavors, we're an all-inclusive school community, as we talked about earlier tonight, whether it comes to helping our students out financially to make sure that they're not left behind when it comes to testing. Certainly, we care a great deal about our students, and we care a great deal about our students' health. I think there may have been some miscommunications, some misunderstandings. I think this will shore things up a bit. And if nothing else, it's opened up our eyes to the fact that maybe we need to do a better job of communicating. And I'm not putting anyone down when I say that, but maybe we need to have more communication between the nurses at the lower level schools, and just sort of a heads up of what they should be looking out for and which parents they should reach out to. But I think really I'm supportive of the parent who brought this forward. But at the same time, very supportive of the nurses and the school administration, only because I know how much that each and every one of them cares about the students, as we do. Wayne?
I do support our committee and our teams in the school department, but everything doesn't run like a fine-tooth comb. Things do happen. And that's why I'm glad we got to this point where we are doing something with the policy and talking about it. And I just want to make sure that we don't drop the ball. And I'm not saying anything bad about us or the committee or the nurses or anybody. But these are our kids that we got to worry about. And I want to make sure that happens, and whatever I need to do, I'll do it if it's needed. But we just got to make sure it doesn't happen. And I want to thank the parent for bringing it up, because we had no knowledge of this. And it did bring out stuff from the school committee and the superintendent in the policy. So, I mean, I'm happy with that. So, I want to thank you for that.
Okay. I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to approve the policy
As written.
as written.
Do I have a second?
Whatever it is.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
The next policy is the school vehicle policy. You approved it on first reading on January 23rd, and it's my recommendation that you approve it on second reading.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion to approve policy EEBA, school vehicle use policy on second reading.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
The next package of policies regarding buildings management, safety program, vandalism, buildings and ground security, emergency closing, emergency plans, first aid, and authorized use of school-owned materials. These are part of our ongoing work to make some minor amendments. As you can see, some of them have absolutely no changes to them, so really what you're doing is just affirming them as written, with a couple of them having some changes that put into policy practices that we have currently in place. So it is my recommendation, I apologize, that you approve those as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the following policies: EC, buildings management, EB, safety program, ECAC, vandalism, ECA, buildings and ground security, EBCD, emergency closing, EBCR, emergency plans, EBB, first aid, and EDC, authorized use of school-owned materials.
Excellent. Good job.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on these policies?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote.
You could be an auctioneer.
Thank you very
next.
much for that. Do we need an executive session? We do.
Yes, as noted.
We do.
We do.
I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion. Oh, go ahead, Gail. I'm sorry.
Okay, I make a motion to enter executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23B7, to comply with Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 34D regarding 603 CM.
That's the wrong, it's
It's
the
the
one on the
wrong one.
agenda, I apologize.
Okay,
Through the chair.
I take
was
that all
just good
back.
practice, Gail.
Yep.
Just to warm you up.
Oh, it's a much shorter one. You just wanted to see if I could read all that. I make a motion to go into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21A2, to conduct strategies for negotiations with union and non-union personnel, and per Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Holloway?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Scobie?
Yes. Good night, everyone.